All right, how's it going? This is Sam Wilker with thinkparticle.com, and today I'm very excited. I mean, I'm usually excited, but today's special. It is your birthday. Just kidding. Unless it is your birthday, then happy birthday. But today we are releasing a brand new product. This is something that's been in the works for a little while, and I haven't really seen any of these for Cinema 40 out there, but I think it's going to be really cool. It's called a building generator. Now, there's a lot of city generators out there available for a lot of different programs, but I think it's kind of rare to find a good building generator unless you're looking on Houdini. Houdini's got a few of those that are really good, but anyways, I digress. So, I've built a building generator, and I'd like to show it to you. So, if you open up your content browser after you've installed it, which, by the way, when you open it up, it comes with this, and there also might be a instruction document in there as well. But what you do is you take this lib.40 file and drop it on Cinema 40, and it opens it up. And if you go ahead and drop that into your browser, it will exist inside of. What you have to do is, there's instructions inside of there. There's a rich text document or whatever it's called. Go into that document, and it will explain how to open this up. So, anyways, let's go ahead and drag it into our scene, and then pull out. So this is the first version, and I've got a lot of updates that I've got planned for it. And I'd love to hear what you're interested in seeing. But let's go ahead and just go through and look at it. So the first thing you'll notice is that it's got a building. It's got all these floors. There aren't any doors, but I can explain workarounds to get there. This is a great system for getting you about 80-90% of the way done with a building for background buildings, and it would get you a good start on a foreground building. If it's a background building, it should be completely capable of just achieving that for you. But I think the building generator is going to be fantastic. I'm really excited. So the first thing you have is your building name. So there's a building in Los Angeles I really like called the Ernst & Young Building. I've luckily been able to have some tours of the building, and so I think it's funny that I took Ernst & Young and changed the name to Stern and Old. So, that's for me. That's why the building's called Stern and Old. But not because it's a stern and old building, but we can name our building here, and that will apply to the object up here. And the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and look at how we can add more floors or take them away. So what this is just we have these windows and these balconies and these bevels and quarter pieces and these items here that are borders, and these will be on each floor, and then you'll have your roof. And basically what you do is you clone it, and it keeps on going and going however many floors you want. So the building generator is going to be pretty powerful, though, I think. And again, this is the first version, so if there's other updates you're going to be interested in having in the future, one of my requests is that you make feature requests so I can get them implemented. Because I only know, for the first version, I only know so much of what I want to put into it. The next thing you're going to notice is the floor height. What you can do is you can change the height of each floor. So you can make it really tall or really short. And something I like to do is say probably about 10 feet is more realistic for what a floor would actually be measured up to. And then if that's too tall, I can go ahead and say that these windows are something like 6 feet. Oops. Which are still pretty tall, but, maybe that's a little bit more realistic. And then we'll go ahead and make a few tweaks to make it look a little better. And I will explain how this works in a little bit. But anyways, so we have our ability to change the height of the building, the height of the windows, and I'm actually going to make it 300, just to make it a round number, and 125 and 180. Okay, and I'm going to turn that count up just really quickly. Cool. So you have your ability to turn on a high-quality mesh or a low-quality mesh, and the reason that you have that is because you can define the thickness of the walls, and that right here is useful when you have when you take off the roof or the inner bevels if we turn off the roof, you'll actually, and the roof bevel, roof border, you can actually see that there's a thickness along the edge here to the walls, which is actually useful because the plan for this is to be able to use the building generator to also, gosh, what's it called? To also do interiors as well. That's going to be down the line. So if you keep on turning up the wall thickness, though, you're going to start to notice that there's going to be, actually not in this case, but sometimes there's problems where your thickness will get turned up and sometimes the wall will disappear. So if that does happen, what you need to do is just turn off high quality mesh. That'll actually, that should solve it for you. So that's something that I've got as kind of a debugging tool for you to work with initially. So one thing I do want to do is change the window width. I think it looks better when the windows are a little wider than tall. All right, so we'll leave it at a high quality mesh. You have your ability to set it as a preview object or render it. You can render a preview object. So if you want to just kind of get a general idea, so say you build 20 different buildings like this and toss them in cloners and you have 200. One thing you want to do is have it be a preview in the render. And then also you can do a preview in the editor. And then also you can have a preview in the render for quick rendering for layout. And then you can actually have the final render with these buttons. So nice and handy. By the way, I think this works with CityKit actually. If you go to grayscalegorilla.com, there's this fantastic product. It's been around for a number of years and they keep on updating it, so I believe. But there's the CityKit, and it says you can add your own custom buildings. So if you wanted to, this actually, I believe, I haven't tested it, but I'm pretty sure you can actually use this to design buildings that would work with the CityKit. So keep that in mind. The next thing is a toggle tool set. So if you want, you can toggle the walls and turn them off. You can toggle the windows, and if you turn off the windows, you probably want to turn off the window frames too, and probably balcony and balcony borders. But so this is something that, say, you could just turn the walls into a reflective material, and then it's got just plain windows instead of having inset windows. So and the windows are inset right now because I have a frame that, as you can tell, goes in like this. That's just what I've designed, and I'll show you how to design that in a bit. But then you also have your balcony borders and your balconies. You have your corners and your borders, which go in between all the windows and on the corners. So if you want to have your corners look a little different, you have the ability to have a corner that goes on top of that border. You have the lateral border, which is this flat border right here per floor. You can turn off your floor, so if I turn off the roof, you can actually see that we can see through the building now. So you can actually make your buildings hollow, which could be kind of cool. So yeah, that's basically what's going on. And the next thing you have is your windows, your balconies, your borders, and your corners. So as you noticed earlier, I can change the amount of windows I have. So if I set that to 12, we'll have 3 windows on each side of the building because it's a square building. And one of the thoughts you probably have or will have is it possible to make buildings that aren't shaped like a square? And it is, and I'll actually show you how to do that in a little bit. But there's an ability to make buildings that are any shape. It's basically a profile spline that you'll set in here, and that'll be the design of the building. So you have your window thickness or your wall thickness, then you have your window count, and then also there's this offset here. And you'll notice that it goes in increments of 3.125, and you might wonder why it does that. It's because currently, when you have a square-shaped building, if you set the window count to something like, let's say, 18. Actually, let's try 8. You have to offset it. And these are just the increment numbers that just happen to work out. Or actually, in this case, let's use 16. So these numbers just are basically what fit. So sometimes your building will be a little off, so you will have to manually tweak that, but it works. So there you go. We're going to go back to 28, though. You have your ability to change the width currently. The windows are all going to be square, in the current build. We can fix that in the later builds. If you have interest in having windows that aren't just square, just make a shout out and we'll go ahead and update that. But right now they're just squares. They will basically, you can set the width and the height, and then also the depth is just basically they cut into the wall. If you want them to go into the wall, what you do is you use this offset right here. This is the position offset. So if you have your windows and they're all working, but you want to pull them up a bit or down, or say they're all placed properly except for say we want to do 27, and you need to just kind of pull your windows in a bit, and you'll need this side. That won't really function super properly because that's 29, not 27. But what you can do is you can use this manual offset. So you might want to stick to more solid numbers for that right now, ones that kind of fit on the outside of the building mathematically at the moment. But we'll go ahead and make updates in the future so that we can do tweaking on each side of the building. One of my hopes is in the roadmap, I would like to integrate some MoGraph controls. And it would be for each, it would be for all of the floors on a side of the building, and things like that. But I don't know, we'll, make your feature requests, we'll figure it out. So you have your manual offset there. So you can offset where your windows are. So if we pull that up, it looks a little bit more realistic now. So that's just designing, and we'll push that in another centimeter. Okay, good. So the next thing is your window frame profile spline. So in this case, you'll actually notice that it's down in here, and you have access to all of the objects in here. This is available solely for the fact that I think it's important to have ability to access your Phong tags and your materials for projections and layout. So when you texture your objects, everything else is controlled up here. You aren't going to actually do much tweaking down in these objects. Then you have your profile splines, and these are the splines which you will then use to control, like the balcony border. You'll actually have to use this spline to control it. Well, you don't have to. I mean, you get to, but there's an easy access to that. It's you hit this triangle right here, double click on it, and it'll bring you to it. So you just have to click on this on the building generator, and yeah, it works. Oh, and then the window cutout offset. If we go back and turn off the roof and the roof border, the way this functions is the windows are going to cut out of the building. Okay. If we look right here, this will be a good example. But if we turn this window offset, I guess that's not going to work. Okay, there, see? The window just disappeared. What you need to do is you just need to turn that value up on the window cutout offset and then turn off high quality mesh. I was talking about that earlier, how the building will disappear. Basically, that's what I was talking about. You need to turn off high quality mesh and turn up window cutout if you want really big frames, not frames, really big, really thick walls. So anyways, that's what those are for, and that's an example of how the high quality mesh button will work. Then you have your balconies. Actually, I need to make these thicker because the window does go in pretty far. All right, your balconies. What you do is you can set your balcony width manually, or you can set it to match your window width. And let's set that to 200. Okay. You can set your height of the balcony. So say you want it to go down and into the border there, and tweak the numbers until you get it right on. Actually, I think I got it right on first time on accident. So yeah, you can tweak those values and move your border around. You could change the depth. So if you wanted to replace these windows with something that looks like a door, you can actually turn these into a place people can walk out on and put things on top of them. So there you go. And then you can use this border here and make it a lot taller. And use a custom spline. And what you could do is make a spline that shoots out a little bit wider and goes in behind the window and lifts up in the first version. and creates these borders around the edge of the balconies. But that's something we're planning on probably updating later on. Again, that depends on feature requests, but depends on your needs. But I'm excited. I think there's a lot of potential here, and we've got some really cool things coming as well. There's going to be more popping out in the future with this. We have, again, the position offset. We have the vertical offset, and then the Z offset, and then this is the balcony profile spline. You can change these settings in here, or you can replace it and make your own spline. And something like this might be useful to create. Let's see if I can get this to work. There. Maybe you want your balcony border to look like that. But regardless, it works, it functions, and that is how you create borders around the balconies. Then you have your borders, and you can offset those manually as well. And then you have your spline to use for those. So instead of using just a square spline, you can replace all of these splines, all these borders, with custom splines to make them look like pillars, or just all these architectural designs that look really cool. You can offset them. Maybe you want to offset them so that these pillars come out like this and support like that, so they're actually not touching. So that would be cool. The only thing I would do is go into the roof profile spline and make it a little thicker. So I'm not doing huge adjustments, but as you can tell, they are fast. They're really fast to make these adjustments. And really quick, I'm gonna change the depth of this as well. Okay, so one of my goals always with products is to make it so you can iterate really quickly and be very flexible, and I believe that this product really does shine with that. You noticed earlier I was talking about a problem where these weren't really lining up properly. What happens is these borders right here sometimes need a little bit of adjustment as well. And what you can do is, if they aren't fitting for some reason, you can adjust them here manually, and you don't have to go in those increments. You can just use a number right here. So you want to push them just a little bit to the side. Oops. There we go. You can use smaller numbers to push them around. Hey, look, a smiley face. That's awesome. I don't know how I did that. Huh, cool. I guess that's what the Alt key can do. Okay, so anyways, there you go. That's how that works. And we'll put our windows back. Okay, so the last thing on this page is corners. And these corners right here are super cool. One thing to think about, by the way, if you use your borders and pull them out, then you might want to adjust where your corners are and how big they are. So in this case, what I'm going to do is make my corners a lot bigger. Maybe not that big. There you go. I'll do 65. So that it'll fit, but it'll overlap that border. And again, you can use custom designs for that, and it'll work. Then you can move them around. You can move them up and down. And then you can move them on the Z-axis as well, which actually in this case is the X-axis. It's more of a local positioning, but it works. Let's open up the roof again. You can move your floors up and down. Actually, those are the walls. So, walls and floors. So, and then you have your borders, which you can move. So the borders will follow the walls, but then you can also move your wall or your borders manually. So say you might want to move them down a bit for some reason, or out on the X-axis or out on the Y-axis. So those are some things you can do. Another thing, if you wanted to, you could create. Let's go ahead and just take this spline out. We're gonna make a copy of it so I can give you this example really quick. And we're going to make it editable, and then we're going to drop it in. And one thing you'll notice about the X-axis move is it's not moving off the mesh, it's just moving out. And if you wanted to make it move out, what you could do is move it. What you do is you take the spline, you make it editable, and then you can just kind of tweak the center axis of the spline. So you'll notice that, oops, this is the spline that's going around the building, okay? And if we tweak this and pull it out on the x-axis right there, what that causes is that this will now move out and around the building, and it'll pull out. So if we do that a little bit more, just another 10 centimeters, you'll notice that it actually goes to the corners, but then we have these gaps in between, which could be really cool. So things like that. So we'll go ahead and delete that, and then we'll go ahead and replace it again. There you go. All right, we have our roof spline, which in this case is going to match our floor spline. So if we turn our roof back on, you'll notice that the floor is a square spline. And what you can do is you can go in and tweak those numbers, set it to 1200 by 2400 or 4800 or whatever numbers you really want to do. And then again, if you do that, you're going to need to tweak these values of the windows, of what the windows are. So that comes into the editing later. And then you can replace that later with whatever shape you want. So let's go ahead and show you what it looks like with a hexagon or octagon. Hexagon. Okay, I think the magic number was 4. Maybe it's 3. 5. Gotta tweak these numbers. You gotta look at what the right number is. It does take a little time sometimes. But once you get it, you've got it. So then, yeah, something like that. So now our buildings look good. Oh, you know what? Actually, our numbers don't line up. We have to have it. So let's say we're going to have 4 windows per side times 6, which is 24. So let's go ahead and just make sure our numbers line up. And actually, 6.25 works magically right there. And we're good. So now we're actually set. So we can add another, technically we could add another 4 to that. And then we can offset those and those, and it fits. Actually, there's still that one on the wall there, so maybe we can, oh right, because we're not working in the same numbers. All right, so offsetting on these will allow you to position them properly along the wall. There you go. So you just have to tweak the numbers until it feels right. There you go. Actually, 25. Perfect. Okay. So now we have our hexagon building, which could be, again, we can make this way taller. We could make it 14 stories tall and make each story 700 centimeters tall, or maybe 500. We'll make like 25 stories. So it's a pretty big building. And the nice thing is if you create one of these and then turn off the roof, and then you duplicate it, and then you take 25 times 500 or whatever the height is, and then you go to the next one, and you just kind of get it in the right spot. Oh, darn. Well, what you need to do is you need to also make sure your splines get zeroed out. Well, I'll get that fixed in a update, but it does work. I'll make sure that it ships. When it ships, that will work. So, I thought I fixed that already. Anyways, what you can do is you can move your building up and make it and place another iteration on top of it, and then just change how many windows that one has, so that your building looks different up there, and you can make it smaller as well. And you can give the each floor a different layout. So say you want to have your roof shape not match the floor spline, but be its own spline. And say that spline you want to be taller. for some reason, say you really want it to pull out like that. That's something you can do. Or say you want to have it be designed a little differently with a different layout. So those are different things you can do with the building generator currently. We're going to go ahead and match it. And as you noticed, there is, if we disable the walls, then I go back to the roof settings. You can see that there's actually you don't need to disable the walls. It goes up, not down. You can design the height of the roof. So how thick that part is. So if we turn off the roof border, you can actually see it right there. You can say, I want the building to be, I want the roof to be really tall, or you can really edit that there. Next is your roof profile spline, and this is, oops, that's my lateral border. The roof profile spline is going to be, basically, what it does is it wraps around the building, and then I use some Python to make sure that it stays at the top of the building. And you might see it lag a little bit, but if you just go ahead and update your frames, it'll be placed in the right spot. And then you can change your thickness and things like that. You can give it rounding, make it nice and smooth, beautiful. Yeah, nice buildings with nice rounding. And you can make your roof look really nice. So anyways, yeah, then the last thing is Material Manager. And this is, I've already got materials placed in here, so you can just go ahead and change all of these. You've got your wall, your windows, your window frames, or actually you've got your wall, your window frame, your window, your quarters, balcony, or balcony border, balcony, your border, which are these right here, your lateral border, your floor, your roof border, and your roof. And these are all color coordinated right now. And one thing I like to do when I'm doing test renders is I'll just go through, and to apply these materials, you just do it in the object here. It's all controlled in the back end with Python and Espresso. And I just put on this single material on everything for a clay material, a lighting test. And again, make feature requests. You can drop them in the comment box. You can do whatever you'd like. And you should actually be able to just natively work with V-Ray, Arnold, and Octane and things like that, like Corona Render, all in here. I haven't tested any of those yet, but I'll be sure to do that soon. And like feature requests, and bug fixes, these are things I just need you to tell me. Basically, you say, hey Sam, I want you to make another object that will do a master material override. So make a new, a link, another one of these objects, another shader link in the material editor, and say master material override and create a checkbox. That's what I want you to do. So if somebody asks me to do that, then that's something that I could do. So really, this is just going to be, it's going to be kind of a community project, but it's going to be, I develop it, and then you give feedback, and then I make it better. So anyways, that's how the building generator currently works. I am super excited to be releasing this, and I think it's going to help create a lot of really cool projects. And I'm going to finish up by showing you what you can do with a cloner object with it. So let's drop in a grid array, turn on render instance, and set it to 12 by 12 and 4000 by 4000. And by 4000 I mean 12,000, I guess. Nope, still not big enough. Okay, 4200 by 4200 is getting us closer. Still not big enough. These are big buildings. Okay, there's our city. So, the next thing you can do is you could design your building once and then change the floor height on some of them. And you just go in. There you go. Now we've got all these different iterations. And actually what I could do is I just could select all of these and type num times 2 plus 2. So now all of our buildings will go like that. They will have all these different sizes. And then what we can do is change it from iterate to random. And just change the seed until we have a building we like. we drag in something like a physical sky and a floor, and we can go up from above and grab a camera, and because it's in the sky, it would probably be a wider angle lens, so let's set it to something like, instead of 25, maybe we'll do 30, and let's go ahead and hit render, and it'll take a little bit to prepare it because it is preparing a lot of geometry now, but it'll look really good when it renders. So, oh, I think if you turn on render instance, it turns off our windows. Might need to keep that off, but anyways, it does work. It's actually kind of a weird fix. What you gotta do is, well, it's not weird. It actually makes a lot of sense with how I built it. But anyways, if that happens, it only happened because we used a custom spline on the floor. And the way to fix that is to just drop it underneath your splines right here. So do keep in mind, that's the way to fix it. I tried to do some hacking in Espresso and it just wasn't taking it. So basically just keep that in mind and now your buildings work. So there you go. That's the building generator, and that's how you can make a little hexagon-based city. And that's just with one building design. If you went in and, you know, changed a little bit of these, changed each of these a little bit, it could give you a lot of variation and difference in what the buildings look like. And what you do is you change the window count, the window width and height, and then you can change the amount of floors and the textures and change the splines for the buildings, and that's all you have to do, and you get this just completely different building. So anyways, there you go. That is the building generator in a nutshell, and if you ever run into a bug or a problem, let me know and I'll get it fixed. And I should be able to get it fixed pretty quickly as well. These things look really cool. So let's go ahead and finish off with a nice render. We'll just go ahead and hit render right there. And obviously we need to change some of our render settings because that looks like dirt. And probably want to reposition the light. But it'll look good once we turn off the aliasing issues and turn off our default light and turn on some pretty basic render settings. Oh, I gotta pull the camera back. Actually, I need to widen the camera. Or widen the focal length. We'll go with like 18. There you go. So anyways, again, I'm Sam Welker with thinkparticle.com. This is the new building generator. And we've got a lot of things planned for it. I think it's going to be really useful, really powerful, really good. If you have any feedback, go ahead and drop comments below. I'm really excited to see what people can create with this. I think it works really well with the cloud generator. Not to toot my own horn or show off my own products in a, it's fair. I think using the cloud generators with these look really cool because you can mix them and get these clouds right over your buildings that look pretty cool. And yeah, use the TP toolkit to shoot fireworks off the tops of the buildings. And if you want to use our products, those are the types of things you can do with these. And, there's a lot of tweaking that needs done to the lighting in a scene like this, and the building windows need to be a little bigger. But, it looks pretty darn good. I do say so myself. And I am pretty happy with it. So, oh, that was not the right number. So hopefully this will suit you well. And if you have picked up your own copy, go ahead and let me know what you think and what you'd like to see in the future. And if you have a reason you don't want to pick up the copy, go ahead and let me know why that. Shoot me an email at sam@thinkparticle.com and say, hey, Sam, if you did this, I'd pick up a copy. And I will be sure to add that to the development list and get it built in. So, and we've got a lot of really cool things planned again. We've got things coming that I can't really go into detail about, but we've got some really cool people that are going to be involved in working on some updates with this. And also, if you go ahead and go to thinkparticle.com right now with the release, it's on discount. So it's at a discount that's going to be this nice little lower price. I believe it's going to be at $30 for the release. and then it'll go up to 40 after that sale. So, yep, that's right. So, go ahead and check out thinkparticle.com for more great products and a ton of free training. We teach After Effects, Cinema 4D. We're going to start getting into Houdini, and we're going to start using Fusion and things like that. And be on the lookout for more exciting things in the future. This summer and this year are going to bring some pretty cool updates. So, anyways, thank you very much for watching. I'm Sam Wilker, and I'll see you guys later.